This is Market Pathways, your premium guide to global medical device regulation, reimbursement, and policy. Become a part of the global MedTech community at mystrategist.com. Today on Market Pathways, we have a panel session on health tech assessments extracted from Innovation Summit Dublin 2021, one of our industry conferences held annually across the globe.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Innovation Summit and this panel discussion on health technology assessment with a focus on the UK and Europe. I'm David Fillmore, Executive Editor of MedTech Strategist Market Pathways, a publication covering global medical device and diagnostic regulation, policy, and market access issues. And I'm joined today by three esteemed panelists to talk about issues related to HTA. So it's carried out by organizations like UK NICE and others across Europe and the rest of the world. Health technology assessment is increasingly important to consider for device developers, obviously, as governments have to deal with cost challenges, improving patient care at the same time. And I think this is particularly the case for the most innovative, new medical technology, seeking funding, reimbursement, provider buy-in, and the like. So to talk about some of these issues, we have, as I said, three great panelists, Michael Brannigan-Harris, Paul Dimmock, and Amit Kukreja. So first of all, gentlemen, can I just have you introduce yourselves? Michael, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much, David, for inviting me along to this MedTech Strategist Market Pathways. I've been watching your program develop over the years, and it's great to be, and very honoured to be invited to come to this. So I'm the CEO of a company called Device Access. We've been around 11 years now. Our goal is to get great technologies to patients faster. I have a sort of quite a long-term experience in this whole medtech world since 1989, when I started selling wound dressings and ended up selling all sorts of high-cost consumables, including robots and gastric bands, and did a lot of work with a new treatment for varicose veins. So big background. And then I started this company really to try and help companies be successful, as I was, with helping to transform the care of patients in our NHS system. So since then, we've helped over 45 devices through NICE, through various different programs, and worked very closely with Paul and his team at NICE. So that's me. Mike Brannigan-Harris, over to you, Amit.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks, David, for inviting me to the panel as well. Really glad to be here. Thanks. The timing is perfect. We're talking about UK and health technology assessment, a lot of things that are current today. So, I'm VP of Corporate Market Access at Masimo, and, just have 15 plus years of experience in market access, reimbursement, health economics, and commercialization of breakthrough technologies. I've worked as consultant and for the industry, and very happy to be here and share my part of the story for UK and Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Over to you, Paul.
Thanks very much for inviting me. It's really good to be involved in some of the work that's been done in MedTech. I work for NICE. I've worked for NICE for about 8 years now. My background is in academia, and I work on entry-level products from anything that's not pharma, basically. So if you're digital, diagnostic, a device, you would come through MedTech initially to enter the NICE ecosystem. We work mostly through notifications through Health Tech Connect, which is an online portal, gives you access to lots of different bodies within the UK, including NICE, of interest to MedTech. And one of my central outputs is MedTech Innovation Briefing. So if you come to NICE, that will be the first output you would encounter. And then we try to route you to a suitable guidance program within NICE. That's it for me. Thanks, David.
Great. Thanks so much. No, that's great. A great set of experience, as you could tell. So, first of all, let's get going with some discussion. I was going to start with you, Amit. You, as you say, you're working, from the company's perspective. Obviously, you're Massimo. I know previously you were also at a company called Second Sight Medical, which had really, high innovation, high tech, retinal prosthetics. So, bionic eyes. I just think of that as, type of thing that really, pushes the envelope in terms of technology and cost and how that works into healthcare. But just generally from your perspective, whether any particular technology or what are some of the key considerations and challenges you run up against, when mapping out a strategy for health technology assessment, in terms of, country by country, global, where you go, what are the considerations? What are your first overarching thoughts and concerns and considerations?
Yeah, no, great question, David. And yeah, I mean, I've been lucky and fortunate enough to work for some really innovative companies and products. Massimo, currently where I'm at, has an incredible pipeline of innovative technologies. They have been world leader in non-invasive continuous monitoring products for patient monitoring space. Before Massimo, I was at Second Sight for about 9 years. And was responsible to execute the market access piece of the story and take the technology to Western Europe and North America, basically, in addition to some of the Asian markets too. So I think your question about how does innovative technologies are really adopted and then eventually scaled, so to say, because you can always have an early start, but I think the question really becomes when it's about scalability. And I think that's where you really depend on reimbursement system for innovative products. You got to have endorsements from the payers. In many cases, those payers are government agencies and national payer systems. And Western Europe, UK included, that's the kind of bucket it falls under. So, one of the biggest challenges is in the last 2 decades, I would say maybe 10 to 15 years more specifically, the healthcare system has gone through so many changes in terms of how it's organized, in terms of the cost structures, and the level of innovation has outpaced any other industry I can imagine at this point. So I'm sure Paul is busy and the rest of his team just looking at so many products coming to their table. I'm on the opposite end. I'm the one taking those technologies to Paul and trying to really get early feedback. So one thing I have noticed, which was common in all the products I have dealt with historically, including Second Sight, breakthrough technology, is the level of evidence you usually have. 10, 15 years ago, if you had a great technology, some important features, certainly some level of unmet need, that was good enough for a healthcare provider to say, I like this, I want to get started. And then from there, you can expect a snowball effect. I think in the last 10 to 15 years, evidence-based medicine has really become the heart of the matter. I mean, every payer, I would say, I've been dealing with payers for about 15 plus years. And I think the role has changed. The way evidence is playing out today, do we truly have an unmet need? Do we really have the right population captured? Are the clinical outcomes well demonstrated? Are the studies designed in line with the expectations from not just payers, but also professional societies, people who influence those decisions? So I think in a nutshell, I would say there is this tremendous change in how innovative technologies are adopted and then diffused over time. And these HTA bodies are playing an incredible role in determining what evidence level is needed, what are the early gaps that can be filled. And once you have that feedback by engaging with institutions like NICE and similar institutions in other places, you're really well equipped. And what payers are really looking for, what are the key requirements from clinical evidence, from health economic standpoint, from population definition standpoint, and so on. And especially if you're innovative, you're likely to be in a space where the treatment pathways are not established, where comparative treatments are there, might be there, but not really a direct comparator. So you really have an uphill battle of filling that space by first educating why you are different and how you're different, and then creating space from budget standpoint, from physician priority standpoint. You want to be getting on their list of something they can truly have support for from not just hospital, but from institutions like NICE. So there is a lot going on in that space in UK and internationally. Last thing I would say is the role of health tech assessment also is changing cross country wise. Nowadays you have significant level of collaborations that were unseen before. So you have UK collaborating in many other countries. The influence UK got today is a lot more international than 10, 15 years ago. And so is from other countries where you have UK, ready to accept certain level of guidance coming in. So I just see that whole change is going to be helpful, and hopefully we'll see more harmonization of these institutions around the world.
Thanks for listening so far. This interview will continue after this short message. Market Pathways is the #1 publication that covers the people, challenges, and opportunities impacting the global medical device regulatory, reimbursement, and policy spheres. MyStrategist.com is your digital home to access all of our coverage and read the latest issue of Market Pathways.
Thanks, Emmett. Yeah, that brings up a number of nice themes, I think, in terms of considerations and sort of how things have adjusted and evolved, obviously, as we hear with the, in terms of evidence needs, et cetera. Mike, do you want to go in terms of, just what are some broader principles that you're working obviously with a number of different companies all the time, in terms of what are some of the broader principles you're kind of using to drive the sort of market access HTA approach, and maybe a little bit of how those have evolved, and sort of anything that branches off what some of the things that Amit said in his experience.
Yeah, no, sure. I think it's great background there, Amit. I mean, I think that you're right. Companies, whenever you speak to them, and we're all, Paul's acutely aware of this, and I've sat in so many meetings when companies present to NHS England and NICE, they've always got the best products out there. It's always the wonderful, greatest thing on earth. But at the end of the day, it's using the old tactics of marketing still seem to be rife, which is the tactics of product price place promotion, which is a 1960s concept of how to sell things to people. And I just don't think it works in MedTech. And I've worked over the years to develop these principles of market access, which start with P. You have the product price place promotion with marketing. I designed these new principles around demonstration of the benefit of the technology, primarily to the patient, the first P, so they have to benefit from it. The second P to benefit should be the provider of care, so whoever's treating that patient needs to benefit from using it. The third P is the payer of care needs to benefit from paying the provider to treat the patient. And the last P is the product benefit, which should be around having a price that's optimized. So you charge the most appropriate optimized price for the device, making sure, though, that it reaches the patients that need the technology. And I've seen over the years of dealing with hundreds of medical device companies that sometimes they hit all four. Many of them underprice or overprice, as many underprice the technology as overprice the technology, because they don't understand the real value of the technology to the patient, provider, and payer. And it still seems to be that the industry is focused on this thought that the NHS will buy something because it's cheaper, and that the way of motivating hospitals to buy things is to say we can do it cheaper and it's better and it's innovative, and that's about as useful as going down Regent Street in January and looking in the windows of shops saying that it's a closing down sale and it's a sale and everything's the cheapest. It's just, it doesn't work anymore. And we have two things happening. We've just gone through this global pandemic. We're ahead of the curve in the country. Having dealt with the pandemic, it looks like things are going to open up. So what does that mean? We've got 4.5 million patients waiting for elective surgery. So there's never been such an opportune time for the NHS to change and bring new technology into the system. The other thing that we have is, and we sit on, one of the most incredible detailed databases of elective care in the world, which is, we have access through our license with NHS Digital to understand exactly, how current patients are treated, what's wrong with them, how long they were in for, what those episodes cost, how long they waited for those treatments, what were the outcomes, bed days, length of stay. We have got this incredible data, which is probably the richest in the world, and we have access to the waiting list size by treatment, by speciality, by hospital. So if you thought of it, in many countries, if you were Google or Amazon, you wanted to sort of really understand what was going on and where the opportunity was, we have it for appropriate use in this way of bringing technology to the UK and you know, to benefit patients. So going back to your question, you know, we've got a remarkable opportunity now. NICE is globally respected as one of the most leading HTAs in the world. And for many of our clients that we've worked with over the years and got through NICE, getting NICE recommendation has been far wider in terms of the impact than just the shores. I mean, one of our clients, you know, got NICE recommendation about 3 years ago, and that led to 100 million patients being able to have the treatment in North America because of Blue Cross Blue Shield and Anthem covering it. So it's a hugely powerful organization, globally respected. So my question really around talking to medtech companies is, why wouldn't you take a product through NICE? Because you're telling me it's the best product out there. So let NICE amplify the benefit, not only across the NHS, but help to get global coverage as well. So that's really a bit of a long answer to a question, but they're the principles we work with, and why we work really closely in bringing technologies through NICE, or helping companies to go through NICE, because I can't think of a better way of helping to gain traction and reimbursement and coverage than that way. So that's my...
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, obviously HTA as a strategy, as something to leverage. And I'm anxious to hear from you, Paul, in terms of any sort of thoughts that branched off some of what we just heard, but also, you know, a little bit on, you know, getting into, you know, what I think before we started the panel, you were talking about how busy you are, you know, what with medical technology and addressing these. So, you know, what are some of the key entryway points and pathways that companies, startups in particular, might be thinking about when they want to approach our NICE or consider HTA or go up against that as a way of leveraging the market?
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, we are really busy with all sorts of technologies, but I think one of the areas that really is enlightening for both us and startups is digital technologies. We're seeing a lot of digital technologies coming to us, and when Mike was talking about HTA and Amit talking about HTA and what sort of evidence you're going to get, it's a real mismatch at the moment, because what is evidence to a IT technology person is not evidence to an HTA body. So we have a real mismatch there, and we're sort of working with them to say, right, yes, we realize you've got evidence showing the software works, it does what it says, but we would like some evidence to show it works when you use it on a patient in a GP practice or in a strange environment in a hospital, something like that. So we're working with them to show them the benefit of getting some real good evidence, so we can make better decisions about which technologies to uptake. One of the things that NICE I've noticed in the last few years is we're moving away from this NICE says yes, NICE says no. What we're trying to do is say basically everything will be a measured yes. Where that measure comes depends on how much evidence you have, how much certainty we have in saying, right, this is going to be real good value for money for the NHS. And sometimes, as has already been said, the innovative technologies, they don't have a pathway. They're disruptive to normal clinical pathways. So we're having to work through that as well to work out, right, yes, this is going to really disrupt how we treat patients, but the value is there. If you have good evidence, you can feed it into the HTA system at NICE, and we can show purchasers in government, say, right, look, this is very good value. This will benefit patients. It's worth investing in this technology. And some of those digital technologies are really testing our systems, but we think the systems we have, we're working a lot on how to look at HTA for digital technologies, and I think the systems we have are basically the right ones, but we'll have to nuance those slightly. You've got to look at data safety, things like that, slightly different aspects, but the basis of HTA showing value to the system is still there. So we're quite excited that we're getting a lot of devices and digital technologies. And I think as the regulatory environment is changing in the UK as well, as we move out of the EU, that's given us lots of opportunities as well to develop quite a rapid, innovative system in the UK when we move away from the old CE mark to the UK CA mark. So we're working very closely now with MHRA, who are the regulator for technologies, and we're hopefully going to get quite a fast integrated system, so we could go from idea through to evidence through to reimbursement quite quickly in the UK system. at least we hope that's where it's going to go in the next couple of years.
Watch the full interview and become a part of our global MedTech community on mystrategist.com.